to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Buzz Pound, I am your co-host, Cam Gardner. Thank you for joining for episode 18. It'll be just me again this week. Ian should hopefully be back next week as he is still getting settled into a new opportunity. Like I said last episode, I let him be the one to tell it, but he is off doing great things, in which I am proud of the man. Shout out to Ian. Well, let's go ahead and get started into today's episode. Episode 17. How about that, guys? Me and Ian both appreciate you all for continuing to listen to us as we are growing doing this, and we will continue to put out weekly content for you guys covering both of these teams. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start with the Panthers. Although the Panthers have ended their season sitting at 5-12 for their season, there's still a bit to talk about for the offseason. Like I mentioned before, there is some promise there. Bryce Young, he finished the season way better than he started. Showed a lot of promise. I'm a believer we finally got our quarterback. Rod Wave himself spilled some words of encouragement into him and changed his whole dynamic as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's looking like Bama Bryce again, and hopefully he continues to flourish there and hopefully get the Panthers back on a, how could I put it? Put us back on a high caliber for our organization and within the NFL as a whole. Make us well known again. Because the past few years have definitely not been pretty, but I'm a believer that things get worse before they get better. So I think it's up from here, as long as they do right, whether it's coaching and staff and just all the way at the top with David Tepper. Hopefully between him, Dan Morgan, and Dave Canales can make some positive decisions in order to keep this team going in a positive direction. Well, as we know, once you get to the offseason, free agency is a thing. There's a lot of moves there. That's kind of where most fans, at least, mindsets are in regard to the Panthers. What's next? What moves are going to be made? What's needed? And how to upgrade? So, my personal take, and I'm sure once Ian returns, he'll be able to get into this a little bit himself, but I personally believe that we need a true wide receiver one. I get it. We have Adam Thielen. He's a vet, but he's not what he used to be. Still as convenient as they come. He can catch the ball very well. He can get you touchdowns. He can get you yardage. But he's not as mobile and quick as he used to be. Still good to have. I would love to keep him around if possible. But we need to invest in a true wide receiver one. Someone that's still younger, but that's been around as a veteran for a long time. And hopefully this summer they can make that happen. I know we had Deontay Johnson, but that's a whole nother story for another day. A lot of bouncing around since he departed from the Panthers and just to end up back with the Ravens. But I hope the best for him. Hopefully he's back in a situation where he's able to, perform at a high level once again. But we got a lot of young receivers too. And I know Ian mentions this a lot within our podcast. We actually have a lot of free agent signings on our roster. And, those are the players that typically don't become superstars, but they're able to at least be role players and can stay relevant and be able to provide. So, for our receivers, we have Jalen Coker, who's proved himself to be a solid wide receiver so far. We got Xavier Legette. I definitely want to keep them around because, in my personal opinion, they've got promise to be standout receivers within this league and for our team. But we still need that true wide receiver one that we can look at no matter what for any and all situations. So I'm also a believer that our defense needs to be upgraded, which for a lot of Panther fans, this might not make sense. I've definitely seen on social media where many agree, but I think it's time to consider letting Shaq Thompson go. He's older, great veteran, great leader, but obviously this past season, I know injuries happen, but he didn't stay healthy at all, not even half the season. We lost him early along with Derrick Brown. But Derrick Brown, he's younger. He's a vet, yeah, and he got paid, so he's going to be with us. But I can count on him a little bit more than I would with Shaq Thompson when it comes to being healthy and longevity. So, defense, they definitely need to make a bit of moves there because our defense let us down a lot. Our defense this year allowed the most amount of points in NFL history. Something's got to be done. And clearly they're not making any changes at the head position of the staff when it comes to defense. And personally, I'm not in agreement to that, but since that's the case, we're going to have to make some upgrades with the players. Now, I'm also a believer that J.C. Horn should get extended. He didn't make a whole lot of noise this year, but for a cornerback, he's someone you want on your roster, and he's someone I would want to keep around for the Carolina Panthers and this young team that we're building. I think he's a key piece, and I would love to keep him around to be a part of what we're growing and the development of this team. So that's all I have today for the Panthers. We're going to go straight into the Buzz Boys. So the Charlotte Hornets are currently sitting at 10-28 record. Since I last recorded the episode last week, they won 2 games. They lost to the Suns. Could have and should have won that game. They were up. It didn't make any sense for them to let that game slip through their fingers, but it's in the past. It's not worth looking back at this point while we still have, a bit of the rest of the half of the season left to go. So 2 away wins versus the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls. We're going to start with the Utah game. So the Hornets played the Utah Jazz Wednesday, January 15th. Some standouts of that game. Mark Williams, 31 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. LaMelo Ball, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. Miles Bridges, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. And Brandon Miller, 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. And the final score of that game was 117-112. That was a well-needed win. It felt great. Exciting game for the most part. 2 teams that aren't great in the East or the West, but, coming out with the win is beneficial for us. So on to the Chicago Bulls game. The Hornets played the Chicago Bulls Friday, January 18th. And some standouts of that game: LaMelo Ball, 26 points, 1 rebound, 9 assists. Miles Bridges, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Mark Williams, 19 points, 19 rebounds, 3 assists. And Nick Smith Jr., 15 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Before I do anything, I want to give a special shout out to Mark Williams. He had 2 great games showing what all he can do, showing that he is a key factor for our success and the future of our young team, if willing. But you may have noticed I did not mention Brandon Miller at all in that second game. Unfortunately, Brandon Miller suffered an injury, causing him to be out indefinitely. He has a torn ligament in his right wrist. That was such a heartbreak to hear and to learn. We knew early on he wasn't going to play that game, but we didn't know why. And to find that out, that's truly heartbreaking because it's his second year. He had a great first year. We were looking forward to him coming back and having, if not just as good of a second year, hopefully even better one. But now he's going to be out for a while and miss some time. So that's another key component of our young core of our team that's out. And he's a big provider for our team as well. But let's just hope the guys who played last night, who, stood out pretty well, such as LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams, and Nick Smith Jr., hopefully they can continue to perform well. And once again, we still don't have Trey Mann yet. Once we get him back, that'll be a solid player coming off the bench as a 6th man to be able to contribute for our team. Once we have him back, hopefully we'll be able to get back on track, win some more games. We're not making no playoffs this year. We're not even going to make the play-in either. That was at least my expectation, to at least make that and hopefully get past that and make our way into the playoffs. But with injuries and the amount of games we've already lost, and we're already pretty much at the midpoint of the season, it's not happening this year. And, there's also the trade deadline coming up. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is on February 7th. And speaking of trades, we've already kicked off what all we may possibly do within the final bit of days before the trade deadline. Nick Richards has been traded to the Phoenix Suns along with the 1 second-round pick for Josh Okogie and 3 second-round picks. Nick Richards, he was one of those players. Not a star in this league. Could get there depending on what situation or what situations he may further go in his career. But last year, it wasn't too pretty. But this year, he came as a different player. He got more time starting in the absence of Mark Williams for a while at the start of this season, along with majority of last season. It was an adjustment for him. You know, he wasn't accustomed to playing starting minutes like that. And I'm going to miss him personally because he actually started to find his groove, especially this current season. And that's just, you know, he was someone, like I said, not an all-star, but someone I saw potential in and could possibly get a lot of growth with the team we have. But I'm wishing him nothing but the best going to Phoenix with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and those guys. You know, wishing him nothing but the best. And I wish nothing but the best for all Hornets alumni who've departed within the past handful of years. But, you know, Josh Okogie, I'm hoping he's able to come in and fill that role well and hopefully exceed expectations as, you know, he started to find his groove a bit as well in Phoenix. So I think it's a fair trade for the most part. Hopefully it's a win on our end. And hopefully moving forward, we are able to win some more games, not go out as bad as where we currently are now. You know, the team is talented, in my personal opinion. We've got players, but currently where we're sitting at, it's definitely not a playoff team. Not quite sure what other moves may possibly occur before the deadline or at the deadline. I know some want Josh Green gone because he's been a quote-unquote disappointment to many. You know, he has his moments, but he has not lived up to what many hoped he was going to be. I can say the same thing for myself. I expected a lot more. So if we move on from him, hopefully we get something decent in return. You know, not quite sure. We haven't heard any or many rumors. The only trade rumor we were familiar with was Nick Richards, and that did end up happening. So we'll just have to see there. But other than that, that's pretty much the status of where the Buzz Boys are. But, you know, it's forever Hive mentality, Buzz City, all that good stuff. So you also always look forward to seeing LaMelo Ball do spectacular things. And, you know, he's still leading the All-Star voting. And hopefully, you know, once the All-Star game comes around, he has a good game, makes a statement there, and makes it known that he is a superstar in this league and going to be one of those core guys of the future of the NBA for a long time, for the years to come. So now on to Carolina College hoops. Well, on to my UNC Tar Heels. Currently, they are sitting at 12-6 of a record, and as we speak, they are currently playing Stanford today, Saturday, January 18th. Hopefully they can get another win there, and hopefully they can stack some more wins. Like I said, I would like to see them at least ranked. Hopefully see them in the tournament this year. You know, they're not winning anything, as I said last week, but, you know, it would just be good to see them along with the other Blue Bloods in the tournament. And currently they are up 24-19 in this Stanford game. So hopefully they can keep up that lead and stack another win on top of their current record. On to the Duke Blue Devils, ranked at number 3. Those guys are balling over there. They're representing the state of North Carolina very well, I'll admit. They're currently 15-2. They play Boston College today, Saturday, January 18th at 7 p.m. I think that should be an easy dub for them to move up to 16-2. And good old Wolfpack, NC State, currently sitting at 9-8. They play California today at 5 p.m. Saturday, January 18th. That's two of North Carolina's bigger name schools not really performing their greatest, but there's still a bit of season left. Hopefully, you know, they can pick it up a little bit to at least have somewhat of a better record of where they are. You know, me, I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan. Everybody that knows me knows that. In my heart, I am a Tar Heel, you know. But I am a proud alum of Samford University who represents well in college basketball under Coach Bucky McMillan. But my Tar Heels, hopefully they're able to pick it up a bit. And hopefully once the conclusion of the season, they're able to rebuild a little bit and get back to where they were within the past few years, at least, you know, staying high ranked in the nation and winning some more games and being able to make a push in the tournament. So Buzz Pound, it's another shorter episode again today. Appreciate everybody who is listening and still listening. You can find us on Instagram and X at Buzz Pound Pod. You can listen to us on YouTube and Spotify. We post every Saturday, and hopefully next week Ian should be back, and we should be back to our normal, you know, double co-host hosting episodes. And like I said, Ian is off doing great things, representing well, and I'll let him be the one to share everything he's got going on his end. But Buzz Pound, thanks for listening today. As always, keep pounding and keep the high mentality.
Ready? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time. This is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown.